Hello guys, the intelligence of NATO has just confirmed that since the start of the full-scale invasion, 900,000 of the Russian soldiers were forever demilitarized. Just think about this number, 900,000. It would have stopped anyone but Putin. And that is another argument that no negotiations, no agreements are possible with Russia. They don't care about human life, and they sure do not care about following any agreements. And actually, since the start of these talks inspired by ignorance of Trump, the ceasefire seems totally impossible, and the number of attacks on Ukraine grew tremendously. The only good news is that we also keep defeating and demilitarizing Russia, which is the only working plan. For example, during this week, we destroyed a huge convoy near Avdiivka, targeted a plant of explosives in Samara, neutralized a number of air defense systems in the temporarily occupied Crimea, and a Russian pilot crashed his own Tu-22. I don't mind if Russians join and keep demilitarizing themselves too. So let's have a look at these most important events of the week that will sure demonstrate to you no, Putin does not want peace. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the collapse and demilitarization of Russia and Putin in The Hague, subscribe, we will discuss all of that on the channel. One of the main messages of Donald Trump's election campaign was that he will end Russian war in Ukraine in just 24 hours. Of course, it was unrealistic, but these months of talks already demonstrate how far away even this most modest plans are, because Russia wants war, Russia wants to expand this war to NATO countries, Russia wants to demonstrate the world that the United States are weak, that Donald Trump does not know what he is doing, and at this moment they use the process of negotiations to keep targeting Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. For example, the recent attack on Kryvyi Rih, and Russians keep attacking this city because this is a hometown of Zelensky. It does not have any strategic military places. It is not somewhere on the road for the Russian army. It's just the symbol. It's a hometown of Zelensky. They keep targeting it extremely violently. And 2 days ago, they targeted a playground, and that was the strike that took most of children's lives in the start of the full-scale invasion. And all in the context of peace talks that J.D. Vance and Trump demonstrate as successful. 9 Ukrainian children killed, and you will not see any strong reaction coming from the White House. But what can you expect from a person that literally destroys American profit and American friendship around the world and goes to play golf? I don't know if he sees the news according to which Russia started a new wave of conscription. This spring they want to invite 160,000 soldiers. It's quite obvious, taking into account they've lost 900,000, so they do need new people. And they have announced this largest since 2011, if I'm not mistaken, wave of mobilization. I am sure this is not a sign that Putin is getting ready for a ceasefire. It resembles that Putin is getting ready for more attacks, while the United States have such a weak president. And this week was a week of attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure in Kyiv. For example, this morning they destroyed a TV channel that actually combines a number of stations, and one of them is UATV English that all of us love, all of us watch, and I was honored to visit their office. And that is a very clear demonstration how Russians are afraid of the truth and how they try to hide all of this information. And that is another proof, evidence that you must follow such channels as UATV English because they risk their lives to tell you the truth about Ukraine and Russian war here. Please subscribe to their channel, subscribe to my channel, and share these videos if you share our opinions. And God is working, and that's why this week a Russian pilot during trainings destroyed Russian Tu-22 bomber. It crashed far away in Irkutsk region, and it's not the first time they destroy their own aircrafts. And sometimes I have this feeling that maybe they have a specific training where they train Russian pilots to destroy Russian aircraft. And this would reflect this Russian attitude, Russian negligence actually very well. And I'm sorry if people who believe in Trump's economic talent are watching this video. I have a similar feeling about Trump and tariffs, that he wants to repeat his bankruptcies now on this higher national level. I hope people will stop that. And I see a lot of protests coming in the United States in different cities. That's democratic. That's how people demonstrate if they don't like something. And fortunately, we do not live in kingdoms, this medieval, even though Putin wants that, people will not accept that. And of course, it was not a surprise that Trump decided to put tariffs on Ukraine, 10%, but no on Russia, because according to the White House, Russia suffers enough. I disagree here. And it was purely Russian choice to start attacking independent countries, to start violating international laws. And as any criminal, they have to be prepared to take the responsibility for what they are doing. Ukrainians suffer greatly just because we have these crazy neighbors, and all we do is defend our motherland. So people who question whom to support should not actually ask questions like that. And if you have doubts, watch maybe one of my most important videos about the sounds of war, where I introduce you to the sounds of Shahed drones, of air defense working, of unfortunately the explosions of S-300 and ballistic missiles in Kharkiv. This is our reality. Russians do not hear that, because what Ukrainian armed forces do after these 3 years of Russian violence target only legitimate objects. Because we respect the rules of war, because we don't want to turn into evil. All we want is return our territories, our people, our lives back. And this week, Ukrainian drones targeted a factory that produces various kinds of explosives in Samara. And actually, it was one of the biggest factories of this type, and it detonated all night. 20 explosions were heard, and Russians are not very media literate, and they keep recording that, they keep sharing the videos. And this is how we learn about the effects it all has on the population. People are not hurt, but people definitely see that not everything goes according to the Putin's plan. And when they hear the sounds of war, when they see the explosions, when they know what an air raid alert is, they sure have different feelings about war. They are not that enthusiastic anymore. And actually, a lot of the Russian regions are now an active war zone. And it's not just Kursk, it is also Belgorod. According to the intelligence, Ukrainian forces are slowly but confidently moving in Belgorod, approximately 1,600 meters more. And this is another proof Russia does not control its borders, and it is super vulnerable and can and will be defeated. Even if Donald Trump tries to save them, he will fail because he does not seem to be very successful in everything he does, and the fact that he will help them can actually ruin them faster. That's one of the options that many economists consider. If tariffs continue, economy dies first in the United States, then globally. Russia does not have any financial cushion that could have saved it, and it will collapse faster than the Soviet Union. And what Ukrainian troops are doing in Belgorod, in Kursk regions, they are preparing a buffering zone, but this buffering zone must be on the Russian side, because all the attacks, all the problems come from the Russian side. Once again, an important reminder to very weird people who don't understand the reality. Ukraine defends itself. If Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine disappears. If Russia stops fighting, war ends. That is that simple, that even Donald Trump can understand, if he, of course, wished to do so. And let's finish this video with another good update from this week. And that is the destruction of a huge Russian convoy in Pokrovsk direction near Avdiivka. They wanted to get deeper inside Ukraine to get one more village. And remember, Russians lose these tremendous numbers of people for really small pieces of territory. What many do not focus on is that they are losing the territories they managed to get at the very start of the full-scale invasion, when of course no one was prepared, just as you are not prepared. You think you are prepared, but if someone crazy started attacking you, you would clearly see how many things are not ready, because you are normal people, because you cannot think that others can be that violent, that crazy. And right now, Ukrainians are returning the territories back. And destroying convoys is a very good step for that. Like 14 various military equipment, tanks, BMPs, Gazelles, armored KAMAZ, and even golf carts that they are using were destroyed. And 900,000 Russians demilitarized. Just think about this number. That is insane. That is something that would have stopped the craziest dictator, but not Putin. Because what will he do after the end of this war? What will he do to the collapsed Russian economy? How he will explain political economic problems? How will he keep his power? There is no answer to that, and that is why Putin will keep fighting until he is demilitarized. By the way, that is also a good plan that maybe sometime soon we will fulfill. Please support these videos with your likes, share them on your social media platforms. That's important. You see, Russians keep targeting Ukrainian TV channels, and that is a clear demonstration that the truth is working. The truth is destroying Russian myths. So subscribe, share, join me on X, I'm fighting there, on Blue Sky, the community is amazing, on Instagram, I share more of my everyday life there, on Threads, and of course we have an amazing Discord community. Check the merch shop, we've got a beautiful spring Easter collection, and all of the items work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that a lot. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Thank you for standing with Ukraine in your countries, reminding your representatives that you support Ukraine, that you support freedom, that you know Russia is an aggressor. I did not expect we would need to remind that after the 3 years of the Russian violence, but the times are challenging, and I'm very grateful for all of you and literally to everyone who does that, who demonstrate the strong understanding of the situation and strong support of Ukraine. This means a lot to all of us. Thank you so much from Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!